Tyler Bertuzzi traded this morning to Boston for a protected first and a fourth, both in 2024, giving Steve Yzerman over the next 2 drafts, okay, this Bertuzzi move and this Hronek move, 4 first-round picks and 4 second-round picks. A lot of flexibility moving forward. Let's start with the sobering reality that this season is unlikely to end in a playoff bid.
Yeah, there's that.
That's
it's unlikely, yes. Very unlikely. Well, you just traded away.
I mean, we could say tough pill to swallow. I think many people thought after the Ottawa series, well, crap, they're not going to make it.
Well, it was tough to begin with before the Tampa Bay game. It was tough, right?
Yep.
We knew that. I thought my 51 was on the side they were going to do it. They were playing really good hockey, and right up until they weren't. You know, that Tampa game took all the sting out of them. They fired 45 shots on net and couldn't find the net, and get shut out in that game, lay an egg the first night in Ottawa, and follow that up with a rotten egg. And the writing's on the wall that this is probably not going to happen this season. Because, you know, while I always look at who you're chasing, not who you're chasing them with, there is a large contingent of teams there that are chasing along the way. It's not just the Red Wings that are going for those the final spot. So it's sad to me because it does signify that they're giving up. They gave up, what is their most productive on the score sheet defenseman. And Hronek, they're giving up on the player that is the player that most teams would want in the playoffs, which is Tyler Bertuzzi from this team. You know, obviously he's not had a great year this year because of the injuries, but you know what kind of player he is in his career. A couple times he scored 20, he scored 30 last year, and he's just gritty with a capital G. He's that type of player. But if they knew they weren't going to re-sign him because the sides are too far apart, then trade him. And that's what happened. He got traded because he wasn't going to resign here.
So, yeah, we had a fun 2 weeks. And I mean, you know, Valenti said it yesterday, and it was he's 100% correct in the crosstalk about how refreshing it was to have people upset about Red Wings results.
Mm-hmm.
To have people watching the games and passionate enough, invested enough to want to pick up the phones and call us. I don't want that to go away. I really don't. I mean, go beat Seattle tonight and let's keep talking about the playoffs. But it just, you know, to move on. Look, they played most of the year without Bertuzzi and put themselves in a position to make the playoffs. So
you played 29 games this year.
Yeah, you played a good chunk of games without Bertuzzi. And we're still in a position to make the playoffs. So removing him, it feels to me like that's more of a long-term loss than a short-term loss. Like, if Bertuzzi got hurt again, I wouldn't give up on the playoffs. Moving on from Hronek, who's having a career year and is providing a lot of offense, and now they're likely going to have somebody on their offhand playing a defense. I mean, they have 7 defensemen, and I think 5 of them are left-hand shots. And most of what they have in Grand Rapids, left-handed shot. But so somebody's going to be playing on their offhand, most likely here. But does this mean Simon Edvinsson gets called up, the first-round pick that's so highly touted?
Well, I'd like to see him. You know that.
You've been talking about it for weeks.
For a long time here, and maybe this gives them that opportunity. Plus, there's no pressure, or there's less pressure. I'm not going to say no pressure. There's a lot less pressure to make the playoffs and all that. They traded Hronek at the right time. Hronek was coming off, arguably his worst season as a pro last year. He was minus 29 last year. He had 38 points in the 78 games, and he's got 38 points this year in 60 games, and he's actually plus 8. He's a plus player for the first time in his career. So applaud Stevie for getting what he got out of that trade. Now they've got all this draft capital. I go back to what I said yesterday, which is some huge revelation, but what I said yesterday is in order for this team to be successful in the future, they've got to find a player that is as good or better than Dylan Larkin. They got to
get somebody better than Dylan Larkin.
So they're going to have to do that. And now they've got freed up space here. Hronek, that frees up money. Bertuzzi, not going to bring him back. That's going to free up some money. They may move a couple other guys. I think Suter and Sundqvist are both unrestricted free agents at the end of the season. If they could find a taker for Verana, they may have to eat some of that salary. But if they eat some, that means that they save some. I can't help but think. My first thought, and I know this is unrealistic as hell. My first thought is give up all the draft capital they just got and send it for the first pick overall in the draft. Whatever it takes to get the first pick in the draft, if you can do that. But teams are really reluctant to trade that first pick in the draft when there's that player that's there that everyone feels like is going to be the next great player in hockey.
And this year, Connor Bedard, people think is going to be that. But it's considered a deep draft. It's considered a good draft to have 5 picks in the first 44, I think they have.
It's the forward from Michigan, the feisty
Adam
guy.
Fantilli.
Yeah, he's a little feisty. I mean, he's kind of like
really
a Brady
good.
Tkachuk, right?
He's really, really good.
He is. So there's other guys there.
Yeah.
And I guess you'll end up seeing where when the season's over with, if they don't make the playoffs, you'll see where they're at in terms of when the draft lottery happens and where they're drafting. But I think he's got the Yzerman has the opportunity. If this is truly a deep draft, move up as high as you can, get the best player you can because you need to find some talent there.
Well, he also could be war chesting. I mean, he might not be done here, right? He could be war chesting to trade some of these picks between now and tomorrow at 3:00 for some other team that's looking to rebuild if they have a player they want to sell off.
That's
right?
true.
I mean, it could be war chesting for an off-season move, a draft night move where he trades these picks for an established player. I mean, there's a number. He's got all kinds of directions to go. They've got some quality young players on this roster, and Sider and Raymond and the high marks for Edvinsson we keep hearing, but I'm going to be really intrigued. But it's just to go back to zero. Yzerman came to the realization, hey, we're not close. We're not close. We've got ourselves in the close position, but we're not really close. And the Ottawa series might have been the one that just made him hit the reset button.
Yeah, but they're not back to zero. They're back to where they were to start the season. Yeah, it's not back to zero.
It's back to more rebuilding than going for it, for sure.
What it is it provides them with the opportunity in the offseason to be aggressive and improve the high-end talent on this team. You've got to improve the high-end talent.